What's up guys, Sean here. Today I'm reviewing the Peña X series front flipper. This is a knife that was sent to me from Eugene along with 3 other knives, and he sent them all in for sharpening and asked if I was interested in reviewing them. So they are all sharpened up. Only thing left to do is review them, and I have the reviews finished, ready to go. Only thing left to do is film. So not only do I have those 4 reviews, I did 6 more. So I have 6 more written out, ready to go. So I'm about to hit you guys with a bunch of knife reviews. Now, I edited my format. I had 25 categories. Now I narrowed it down to 20 because some of them were kind of redundant. For example, I had action, detent, closing. That's, as 3 categories. Now that's all gonna fall under 1 category, and it's just gonna be action, because not all knives have detents. If we're talking about automatics, or certain types of knives just don't have detents. And yeah, so for that reason I changed it up, tried to simplify it, and also because I rate each score out of 5 points, so having 20 categories gives me a total of 100 possible points, and it just makes the whole grading scale a little bit easier. So check this thing out, man. This is a beautiful knife, and it was sexy to start off with, but I just gotta say, I really turned it up a notch with this edge. Now I know some people aren't big fans of wide bevels, but I just gotta say, lower angles equal sharper, higher sharpness, and better cutting performance. And that's 2 things that I think we can agree that everybody desires. And it's also been proven that it increases your edge retention. So you gain a lot by sharpening at a lower angle. And I personally like the look. I don't like when it's too crazy. Like if this bevel was halfway up the blade, maybe I wouldn't be into it, but this is sharpened at 17 degrees per side on my KME. I went from 100 grit to 1500 grit with the KME Gold Series Diamond. And then I did the 10 and 5 micron Columbia Gorge Stoneworks resin bonded diamond. And this thing just came out killer. After the 10 and 5 micron Columbia Gorge Stoneworks, the only thing I did was a little bit of stropping on basswood with gunny juice. So first, before I start off the review, I'm going to demonstrate the sharpness of this knife by cutting phone book paper. I'm going to be doing push cuts, nice and slow, and look at that. Beautiful knife. Let's just take a quick look at these scales. These are absolutely beautiful. We have some dark matter carbon fiber. There's some red accents in there, and it's kind of like a marbled carbon fiber with some black and some different shades, maybe a little bit of gray, but it's not your typical carbon fiber weave. I'm not sure if the strength of this type of pattern is affected, if it's stronger or weaker. I would imagine it's possibly weaker, but I don't know that for a fact. One thing I do know is it is absolutely stunning. Very beautiful knife. So let's get into this. Oh, almost forgot. I gotta show you guys how sharp this is. So here is my phone book paper. It's the thin shit. So yeah, guys, it's fucking sharp. Alright guys, so into the review. My first category is ergonomics. This knife scores a 5 out of 5. This is a nice small knife, no hot spots. Even though we have a milled titanium clip, that clip doesn't bother me at all. We have a really neutral handle, kind of no distinctive grooves or bends in it to dictate where your hand goes. It's more narrow near the bolster, and it gets a little bit wider towards the back, and that helps to kind of fill out your palm a little bit, so you get a nice feel of control over this knife. You have a nice sturdy grip on it, no extra handle space. I wear a size large glove, so that'll give you an idea of my hand size. But I mean, if it was any smaller, I would not be a big fan of it. But I think this is probably close to my minimum size as far as what I would find useful. So 5 out of 5 on ergos. Moving on to the clip, we get a 4 out of 5. Now this clip is beautiful. It doesn't really bother me, but there is one flaw, and that is that this can be a little bit difficult to get in and out of the pocket. This one does like to get caught up on the lip of your pocket, and it does not like sliding in very easily. A lot of times you're either going to have to force it, or maybe even possibly use two hands, which I really hate doing, but hey, sometimes you have to. So, you know, I didn't want to deduct too much because it isn't impossible to get into pocket. I've dealt with worse, but it is a little bit more difficult than I'd like. Moving on to the carry. For carry, this should be an obvious one. It gets a 5 out of 5. This is nice, small, doesn't have any flipper tab protruding from it. Nothing really extra to it. It's nice, slim package, lightweight, and leaves you with plenty of pocket space. You can also carry this as a 5th pocket carry. This will fit comfortably in your 5th pocket if that's what you are trying to do. For the action, we also get a perfect 5 out of 5. I have to say right off the bat, I am not a fan of front flippers at all, but this one is pretty sweet. I like the fact that with the jimping and the round portion right here that's exposed, it really reminds me of a lighter, like a Bic lighter, and you just flick it like you're flicking a lighter. So easy. Or you can come up a little further into the front, you know, but you don't even have to do all that. Nice and easy if you just start off back here, just pop it out like you're lighting a lighter. Now, this is not drop shut, but you can gently shake it. So it's not like you have to throw your arm out of socket to get it closed. Pretty cool. And the detent is tuned perfect. With this only having the front flipper as a, you know, really the only method of deployment besides this nail nick, you really don't want too strong of a detent, and they did the detent perfectly to where the action is still good, but this doesn't start wearing out your thumb or anything. I mean, you can really do this all day if you wanted. Moving on. For hardware, we get 5 out of 5. No T6s. We have a T10 pivot and T8 on the scales. And for this side, T8 for the clip screws. I mean, they really did it up. A lot of companies will slip up. They'll do T10 for the pivot, T8 for everything else, and then they'll do the measly little T6s for the clip screws. Then you take off your clip for some reason, or you want to swap your clip, and you know, if you don't have good TORX drivers, that's just problems waiting to happen. Now, if you get yourself some WIHA TORX drivers, like I have linked in my description of every video, the same ones that I use, you're not going to have any issues. I've undone I don't know, hundreds of T6 screws with the same one driver, and it still fits perfectly. There's no slack in it, so it won't be stripping out any screws anytime soon. Next category, aesthetic. For the aesthetic, this also gets a 5 out of 5. I mean, it has that classic slip joint kind of look, but then it's modernized because we have the exotic dark matter carbon fiber. We have the modern hardware instead of it being pinned. We have a beautiful modern blade grind with a nice swedge right here, so the blade is even thinner through this section, which makes for even better cutting. And I mean, it cut well to begin with. Decently thin blade stock. It's not very thick behind the edge. I mean, it's not super thin. If I didn't mic it, but if I had to estimate, I would say it's maybe right under 20 thou. Around the same as a PM2. Could be maybe 18 thou. 17, 18 thou. So it's with the 17 degrees per side edge, it cuts excellent. Now with the factory edge, when you're fresh off the stones at, I think the factory edge was probably close to 30 degrees per side. And straight off the stones, yeah, it should cut alright, but you're going to lose that keenness in the edge super fast with an edge that steep. And yeah, that's just not what I like. I like my knives to cut well, and I like them to cut well for a decent amount of time and also look good. So, all around, a lot of benefits by reprofiling this to 17 degrees per side. Now, for the price, I gave this a 3 out of 5. The price comes in at these are around $300, give or take. That's a lot for a modern slip joint style knife. Now, when you are looking at the market and comparable options, some of them are up around that price point. It's just a little bit hard for me to justify on such a tiny knife. But size doesn't always equate to the price, I can tell you this is top-notch quality, excellent fit and finish. It's a beautiful knife. I'm not sure where it's manufactured. I have a feeling it's probably manufactured by an OEM in China because I don't see any USA markings on the blade. And if it was a USA made knife, you can bet your ass they would have it marked all over the blade. Nice and fucking big right there. USA. And you know what? That is a-okay with me. I love to see that. I love supporting knives made inside the USA. So not a knock at this, but I think it's safe to say I would have done the research and looked it up and all that shit, but to be honest with you guys, I've been super busy, and I don't need to look it up to tell you that it's not made in the USA, because like I said, if it was, it would be printed on the blade. I guarantee it. So, yeah, there's that. And if I'm wrong, I apologize. If this is made in the USA, then I think that justifies $300. But for it being OEM and such a tiny little knife, that's reaching. It's reaching. That being said, moving onward. Fit and finish, 5 out of 5. I think I've explained pretty well so far. Just, you can feel a gap between your carbon fiber scale and the bolster, but it's not like rough or anything. These scale, the hardware is recessed, have a nice back spacer. We don't have any blade play in any direction. We also don't have any lock stick in any direction. This is a sub-frame lock. I think that's what you call it. It's a frame lock essentially, but the scale lays over top of the frame lock, I suppose. So I think they call that a sub-frame lock. And judging by the screw right here, I believe there is a steel lock bar insert. And let's see if we can see it in there. Sorry guys, it's nighttime right now, but I'm just going to go ahead and say yes, there has to be a steel lock bar insert in there. So, nothing standing out to me to indicate that there is any quality issues with this. And another plus, the blade grind was even. The edge bevels were even as it came, and it wasn't difficult to make the edge look good because they did a nice even blade grind. The flats, everything is symmetrical from side to side. Everything's nice and even. That makes life sharpening professionally a hell of a lot easier. I hate seeing uneven blade grinds, especially on an expensive knife. But that does not apply to this because they did an excellent job. Next category is acoustics. I gave this a 2 out of 5. It doesn't sound bad, okay, but it just doesn't really have much of a sound to it. I mean, it's so damn quiet. I mean, I guess maybe we could call it a 3, but I mean, let's be real. It doesn't sound bad, but it doesn't sound cool in any way. I mean, that's just my opinion, but I've handled a lot of knives. I think it's safe to say that, you know, that's not really doing it for me. For the lockup, 5 out of 5. Very solid lockup, and there is absolutely zero lock stick. So, excellent with the lockup category. Lock bar access. This, we lose a point in the lock bar access. Now, I don't have any issue getting my thumb in there, but as you can see, there is barely a relief right there. I mean, there is a relief, but that's a pretty tight freaking gap between the frame lock and the show side. All right, and there is no jimping, and it's a tight squeeze. Now, that being said, I have no issue whatsoever disengaging it, but I can definitely see that being an issue for somebody out there. I mean, I don't have really fat fingers, but if you do, it might be an issue. And if you have one of these and you happen to have fat fingers and it's not an issue, let me know in the comments down below, because I would love to know. But I would think that it could be an issue. So I only docked it a point for that. For the factory edge, gave it a 5 out of 5. You know, it was even, it was sharp, no issues. For the blade, gets a 5 out of 5. And now, blade category, what does that entail? That entails the blade grind, the blade finish, the blade steel, all that kind of, I kind of compacted into one category. So 5 out of 5. We have M390. It seems to be done well. It sharpened up well, took an insane edge, very, very sharp. I will show you guys. Alright guys, so now you can see that it's fucking sharp. Moving on, handle, 5 out of 5. They utilized premium materials, not only premium but exotic materials. and they executed it well. It looks good. It feels fine. I mean, it doesn't feel exceptionally great, but it feels good. There's nothing wrong with it. No reason to deduct any points, and it looks really good. They did a good design or a good job with the, keeping it neutral, keeping it classic, but I think it's a healthy blend of modern and traditional. I mean, it's only what is necessary, really. The stuff that we want in a knife, but they made it still look traditional. So I think they did good with that. Centering, perfect 5 out of 5. Cutting, 5 out of 5. Materials, 5 out of 5. Fidget factor, 4 out of 5. The reason I docked a point on the fidget factor is because we really only have that one means of deployment. Now, don't get me wrong, it functions great. And for someone that doesn't like a front flipper, I mean, I'm not really complaining. It's pretty damn good. But I would like to see at least one more deployment method other than nail nick. Because let's be honest, I'm never going to use that nail nick. That's just not my style. So, I mean, even if they did a little fuller or, had a groove or something that you could catch the meat of your finger on, and mother, did you guys just see that? Did I just reverse flick that? Look at this shit, guys. Nothing there. That's how much I reverse flick shit. I just, like, seriously, I think I just did that with my mind. Look, I'm not gonna be able to do it now, but you guys saw it. That was freaking, that's bragging rights right there. Ho ho. Look at that. So yeah, just put a nail nick on this side. I mean, come on. Why are you going to put it on this side? Put it on the back side, guys. Come on, Peña. Damn. They would have just put the nail nick on the back side. We would have been golden. Forget the steel marking. Put that somewhere else. Put that on the spine or something. Here I was talking shit on the nail nick, and that would actually be perfect. So, yeah. Moving on. Design gets a 5 out of 5. I think I've explained the reasons for that pretty well already. And last category, the value. For the value, I gave it a 3.5. The reason for that being, I'm torn on the value on this knife, okay? Because one, it's really expensive. Well, not in the grand scheme of things when it comes to all the knives that I'm showing on this channel, but it's not cheap. It's $300 for a small style knife. I mean, it's just, I think that's why I feel more comfortable spending that kind of money on a larger knife, because something about it just makes me feel like I'm getting more of my money's worth. But maybe that's not the case, maybe my outlook is just skewed. But besides that point, like I said earlier, with this being a most likely Chinese OEM. Now, there's some Chinese OEMs that do excellent work, like Rayot, and I have a feeling this is probably OEM'd by Rayot. And say like Civivi, WeKnife, they're Reich. There's a couple, a handful that do really excellent work. And so I'm not going to knock them, but in the day and age, today's day and age, okay, the stuff that's going on in the world, we need to be putting our money where our mouth is and supporting the USA with every dollar we can in any way we can. The last thing we need to be doing is potentially lining the last thing that we need to be doing is lining the pockets of an adversary and potentially helping arm them with the ammunition to be used against us, if that makes sense. So there, and not only the political thing, because I'm not gonna lie, that is a factor for me. Even though I'm not really political, I do stand for American values, and that's being destroyed right now, and it pisses me off. But I don't want to really get into too much of that on this channel, or you know how that goes with YouTube. But the other big deal, it costs a lot less to manufacture this stuff overseas, over in China. It costs more than likely half as much, if not less than that, to manufacture this versus if this was manufactured over here in the USA. So when you take that into consideration, if this was made in the USA, hell yeah, $300, I understand it. But with it being, done through an OEM, they have much greater manufacturing capabilities. They have the infrastructure over there that's set up for stuff like this, and they do a really damn good job. But it's just, I think it's getting a little bit greedy to ask for 300 when I know damn well it's not costing them enough to charge that price tag. It just doesn't equal out. Now the thing that equals out about it is that this name and reputation, and then also the fact and also the fact that it's a desirable knife. And Peña has been around. He's developed a reputation. It's a sexy knife. This is a desirable knife. People are gonna pay it. That's the thing. So do I agree with the price? No, not really. But I can understand it, because there's also, you can't forget about the supply and demand aspect, okay? So if somebody wants something, and it's worth whatever they are willing to pay for it. And that's kind of how the secondary market works with this stuff. So say if this was limited, which it probably is, sells out in 2 seconds. I'm exaggerating, but you know what I mean. And then you're trying to find this, and nobody wants to sell theirs. There's only one of these on the entire secondary market, and you've looked through eBay, knife groups, everything. The person is asking for 600 instead of 300, and you have to have this knife because you have every other one of these, and this is the only one that you're missing to have the full collection. What are you gonna do? You're gonna pay that motherfucker the extra $300. You're gonna pay for this knife twice when you're already overpaying, but it's worth it to you because it's what you want, So there's that factor also. So if you pay $300 for this, or 400 or 600, I'm not judging you. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just kind of explaining, how I break it down in my own mind and how I come to my conclusion on it. So overall, this knife scored really high. it scored 89.5 points out of 100. So, you know, round it up, say 90%. That's damn good. Really cool knife. I'm glad I had the experience to check it out, carry it, handle it, sharpen it, love it, and, you know, it's all good. So, thank you guys for watching. I love you guys. Jesus loves you. Stay tuned, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.